I see fashion as like a form of art. It's a form of self-expression. It gives people identity. Myself, I use it to express myself a lot. I think fashion is an amazing tool to explore yourself and explore who you are and how you want the world to see you and things like that. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just there are processes that just have to change. And the only way they're going to change is when people no longer support them.
I've always loved fashion, but I always felt like there wasn't really a brand or certain clothes that fit my style.
I felt like back in the day, fashion was more about like really the craft of the garments and all that jazz, you know, like it takes a long time to make those items that are on the runway, and I just think it's just such a rip-off with all the fast fashion stores just copying it and doing it cheap and distastefully.
I think the fashion industry has to change at some point, otherwise it's going to crash.
As we all know, climate change isn't, just going to disappear. So I think fixing the fast fashion industry and hopefully creating less waste and getting rid of some of that waste will help with the effects on the environment and what happens in the coming years with our Earth.
There are some companies out there that do a great job of being sustainable, but I think there are certain companies, or a lot of companies within the industry actually, will kind of just take from a source until there is nothing left, and then they'll just move on to the next one, instead of actually learning and educating people to make sure that the source that they are pulling from is sustainable and only pulling what they can take to make sure it is still sustainable, and then just telling customers like, hey, actually we can't actually make that at the moment, we don't have the ingredients right now.
I think one of the big things is to stop mass producing. I think that is a big problem because we have so much product being made, yet most of that goes into waste.
There's just so many clothes out in the world, and there's just so many people promoting them. There's all the fast fashion brands bring out like, I don't know how many pieces each week, but I mean, I read an article about Zara, how they can go from like a runway, take the look, create it, have it shipped out, everything in 1 week, which is insane.
Moving more towards making things to order, so have like a sample of your pieces that you have available, and then the customers can order it in their size, and then you make it and send it off to them. There should not be people working in conditions where potentially they could die and they are getting paid like nothing.
I think it's just those that neglect of basic human rights and compassionate for actual life just for the money.
Obviously the consumer is the biggest point, because it's like, if the consumer is demanding all these products, then obviously those massive fast fashion companies are going to keep producing it. Whereas if people start to educate themselves more and just think that they don't need to buy as much as they do now, and they start to buy things that will last them longer so they won't, keep spending so much, then those companies will have to slow down.
The thing is, everyone wears clothes, everyone buys clothes. So if everyone started to actually shop sustainably, well then collectively we are helping in some way to prevent the effects of climate change.
I think here it's been like a kind of safer space to start, because it's curated and it's more, brands and styles that people are more used to in the mainstream media. But when you go into an op shop, sometimes it's all old stuff, or it is kind of hard to find gems sometimes, but you just have to have an eye for it and be patient and kind of have no expectations. But I do think that a lot of people that have shopped here have kind of moved on to op shops now, and they're kind of getting into it and like maybe looking on Trade Me as well.
The first pair of jeans I did, they were just a pair of black jeans, and I like drew some faces, and I was trying to think of something else to add to it, and on the back of the pockets I just started to write blah 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 all over it. And then when I decided to start the brand, I was thinking of a name, and I was like, oh, I actually like blah blah blah, because it's kind of how I see the fashion industry and society and everything, because they have all these rules and boxes and categories that they try to fit us into, but I'm kind of saying like blah blah blah, that doesn't matter, you don't need to listen to that, you just wear what you want to wear, be who you want to be.
Yeah, and I think that the fashion industry is so quick to just place people into boxes, and so I think the fashion industry plays on those like patriarchal ideals a lot.
I do think that a lot of people get discouraged buying secondhand when you can buy something fresh and new for a fraction of the price, but I think you just kind of have to understand the process of fast fashion and kind of realise that it's not worth it in the end. H&M, yeah, it's going to look nice and shiny new. It's not going to last long. You probably wash it a couple of times and it'll start pilling, and then it'll just start looking yucky, and then you'll want to throw it out, so you're not going to wear it as long. Whereas if you buy, say, a wool sweater from an op shop, chances are it's already like over 5 years old. A lot of them are. A lot of them are handmade, so you know, they're made with love. They have a story, which is awesome, and they last longer, you know.
I think if you make someone think that they're getting a bargain, it automatically makes like the deal bigger, like better. You know what I mean? And I think when you make things easy for people, again, it's more like accessible to them, so they're gonna buy it. As a consumer, I think my responsibility is to make sure that I understand what I'm buying. So making sure that the clothing, or even anything that I am purchasing, not even just clothing, is coming from a place that is actually ethical, and understanding those things. And then I think if a consumer is educated upon the issue, then they can therefore make a choice based on the education that they have. So for me, I will only buy sustainable, ethical clothing, food, anything that I would consume.
When you go to an op shop and you're buying a sweater or something, for me, I only buy things that I really like. So, I mean, I'm just gonna wear it heaps and it's gonna stand the test of time. So I think that's the main difference. But
if I was to talk to someone who is a consumer, because everyone's a consumer, but if I was to talk to someone who's a consumer who's not aware of these things, the first point that I would want them to grasp would be the fact that what you buy and consume doesn't just affect you. It has a plethora of people behind it that you're supporting, whether they're good or bad, practically.